Um, Today I got you guys Mercury in the third house. We know the third house has to do with communication and expression of yourself, amongst like people in your like surrounding area, how you interact with them. Are you good at talking to them? Are you good at like exuding like yourself confidently? Are you good at reading people? Like, are you more of a person that sits back and watch what other people say, and then you you know basically deduce things from that? You know what I'm saying? You pick up on things from that. Um, it deals with that, and then Mercury. That's the way you think and communicate. So if you have basically Mercury in the third house, you have a great placement in your birth chart. You're definitely a person who is heard, speaks to people, um, thinks about things, and is definitely somebody who um, can make plans and then execute them however however the plan may be laid out. But anyways, we got Aries in the third house. Aries Mercury in the third house. So Aries Mercury in the third house is a person who speaks in a very like direct and powerful way. So when they speak, you know, and they're talking to somebody, you know, they're heard. If they're talking to somebody and they're being serious, you know, hey, I need this to be done, or hey, I'm like this, and that's what it is. You know, there's no, that's what it is. They have a voice of authority, so maybe they, have a hold a job, or they want to be in a place where they can like have leadership roles. They think in that kind of way. But they lead by, or they try to in their mind. They want to inspire others, so they want to try to come across that way when they speak. Like they have their shit together and they're worth following, listening to. They don't have to ramble on and on about anything. It's like you understand what I'm saying, or you're trying to play games, or like I don't got time for it. You know, these people are goal-driven people. In their mind, they can, at times be impulsive when they speak. When certain things trigger them, they can, get loud, maybe even out of sorts. And sometimes when they talk, it seems like they're um, like being too aggressive or too loud, or something like that. And it ain't even that, that's just how they sound. They like to be loud and getting their point across. And they don't, and some of these people don't always like, talk. I have, you know, Aries Mercury, not in the third house, but as somebody who has that energy, I know somebody, if they have it like in the third house, like they're talking more than I am. So I could understand where people might be like, oh, well, that guy um sounds like he's, or she sounds like she's crazy, or she don't have all her shit together, or she won't, or he won't elaborate on certain points. He just says he's gonna do this, or she says she's gonna do this, and then they do it, or whatever. Because they have that action taking mindset. You know, I'm gonna do this now. I'm gonna like walk and do it. And to some of these people, most of them do what they say they're gonna do, because it's like they're also good at visualizing things too, in their like mind and shit. Um, but sometimes you might not hear them clearly. You might hear like the like how they're saying it, like it's loud, it's you know powerful or whatever, but you didn't catch everything they said because it didn't sound clear to you. They weren't speaking clearly enough. So these people then are like, I don't care. I'll say what I have to say, but then I'm going to do what I have to do, you know, because I did tell you, but you didn't listen, or you tried to play games and say, oh, well, you weren't saying, no, I said what I had to say, you know, you either get it or you don't. Now, the next sign is Taurus, Mercury in the third house. So this person is a thinker, and they might talk a bit slower when they talk. Um, you know, they might not be as loud. They might be loud, but they talk. They definitely make sure themselves are slow. And also they make sure they know what they want to say before they say it. They think twice before saying some shit that could be like, like the person I talked about before. They might say something and not even like, because that's what they need to say. They'll say it right away. In Aries Mercury, but this person called Taurus, right? They won't. Taurus Mercury will be like, okay, let me, you know, not say that. Let me say something else to get my point across. And if they don't get it, then they don't get it. Um, they think in a way that's more, you know, not detrimental to them or other people. Um, they don't like to cause problems, and they think in a practical way too. So like they think in a more real world sense, more sensible when they think about things. Which means they don't like try to hype shit up too much. They don't try to drown you out. They like to bring up like real hard facts about what they're going through, what they're thinking about, you know. When you ask them what they're thinking about, you know, and they might even keep it to themselves, they don't like to give information about themselves too much. They'll give you a little bit of something and then like whatever. But if you're like a friend, they'll let you know more. And they know what they have to do. They're capable individuals, um, so they can like make a plan in their head, and it's like a plan that is not catered to like other people. So like what I'm saying here is, it's something that they have to like execute themselves because they know what they can do. They're not trying to do what other people do. They have a way of doing things their way, you know, and that could lead to some people thinking that they're stubborn minded people. Oh, I told you this, but you're doing things this way. They just have that way about them that's like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it my way. And it's still going to work because I have a like determination mindset. I have the mindset of, yeah, that don't work for you because you want to heat cost to like all this other shit, how other people, feel or um or you've done something like that before and it didn't work for you. But for this person, they're like, I can't give up on myself just because you gave up on yourself because somebody else told you, somebody else, that it's not possible. You know, I'm not you, so I don't have to do that. That's a strong mindset, you know. And then some of these people, and it takes time too for these people because they're met with that type of, oh well, that's not the right way of doing da 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 da, or like maybe it is like what they're trying to do is like their goal is good, right? They're trying to start a business or something, but the way they're going about doing it is like not the way other people do it. But to them, they feel like they need to do that because they'll build themselves better. They'll have a stronger mindset from doing it this way. It might seem harder to other people, but to this person, they're more patient and they can, obtain this, be cool, get to the next step. be cool. They like to do it. It's like day by day for these people. They don't like to fixate on the future too much, bitch about the past too much. What can we do today to get ourselves in a better way? And then like not just that, once they have themselves taken care of, they can also be like, how can I be of service to other people too? As long as I'm managing my time right, which they would. They're sensible people. They think a little bit. um, but I wouldn't say this person's like one to be extroverted though. They're more, they're gonna think. So when you're not talking, you're thinking, and then when you're talking, or when you're not talking, you're thinking, and when you're talking, that's when you're not thinking. You're delivering what you were thinking in your mind to somebody else. You're opening your mouth and saying shit, and people are listening or not listening. Um, but yeah, you know, this person is typically more introverted, but when they do talk, they usually know what they're talking about as it pertains to themselves or like whatever kind of work they do that they like. Um, so the next person is Gemini in the third house. Gemini, Mercury in the third house. This is a great placement because this person talks, communicates clearly, knows about all kind of things. You know, likes to get their point across um, by way of like knowing all kind of information about whatever they might be into, like technology, you know, um, like cars, like all kind of shit that people could be like interested in, and they like delve into it and they study, and they make sure they know what they're talking about before they deliver it too, and even if they're not a smart person, because like you could be a person that ain't smart or a smart sign that has Mercury in the third house. Mercury, Gemini in the third house, and you are just more, you're better at delivering what you're trying to say to people. Whatever you say is understood. You don't really have to repeat yourself. And like again, if you have to repeat yourself because you like to use big words or whatever, and I'm talking, and like I just said, I know I said that the dumber person, right, who has like the Mercury sign in Gemini in the third house, this person is gonna like still sound like they know what they're talking about, even though they're not smart. They just know how to talk and communicate with people and get their point across without being too loud, too arrogant. Like they're not trying to like come off too confident, too confident, you know. They know what they're trying to fucking say and they say it, and if it hurts your feelings, oh well, you know, that's what it is. I explained in great detail, and they do that too. Um, they like to talk more. They don't like to be the listener in a conversation. Um, you know, wiser people who have this will, obviously, they'll be able to carry conversations and have greater conversation because with time they realize that, well, I can sit back and listen to what other people have to say too, and I don't have to be the one carrying the conversation. And also, this person could also be a person that's like, well, I, find myself in situations where I'm mostly the one carrying conversation and I don't have any people who are, cool to like talk back with. They don't ever present anything that's different or like will challenge my mind. They look for that mental stimulation. They like to learn. Like they actually do like to learn things. All kind of shit, man. Anything about money, about you know their hobbies, shit they're into, technical words and other things. They like brain teasers and shit like that. um, and then they know how to like, and like people who like know them or see them, they're like, yeah, that's that guy who talks to everybody, or that's that girl who runs around and talks to everybody. They might be a part of a friend group, they might not be a part of a friend group, but they still like make sure they know their shit, and then people know that too, because like every time they talk to somebody in the community, like they know, they make sure they know, and if they don't know what they then they direct them to where they believe they can get the information they need. And like it's all stated pretty clearly, and you know what the fuck they mean when they say it, and um, they can go about their day. But again, like I said, sometimes they sound really smart, so then people can get their you know minds fucked with by these people too, because they can also spread lies by like using big words and statements, and then you being like, oh shit, I didn't know that if you did things like that you could lose your ass doing they play word games, so you gotta be aware of that. But that's like the only negative thing with them. um and it's a great placement for you to have if you do have it. um So the next sign is Cancer, Mercury in the third house. So Cancer, Mercury in the third house. Cancer, Mercury in the third house. This person thinks about other people. They care deeply about other people's like emotional state before they say something. So they kind of think before they say too. But sometimes you know, it's not like like this ain't a see, this person's still emotional when they think, because this is cardinal water. So what they're trying to do is, if they're in that mood themselves, right, where they're trying to, you know, they're trying to be a supportive person. They're trying to help somebody out because they feel that person's pain, or they feel that that person needs, some type of support. They're gonna, pour into them, and they're gonna, make sure that this person gets what they need, whatever it is, and they'll do that, you know, full heartedly and everything, you know. Now, on the other hand, if this person who has Cancer Mercury in the third house is negative, they can manipulate these people, um, maybe tear them down, drag them down to like their level, make a person feel what they're feeling if they're negative. Again, Cancer is a sign that initiates emotions within other people. So like I could come into like somebody like this, right? And if I'm feeling good, and they like that, they can choose to either support that and be like, okay, well, I was kind of feeling down today, but you came to my day, Green Angel, and you making things better, and they start to come up too, and then like I see that, and I'm like, well, this makes me even more happy, or more positive in my day, because you have accepted me, and you want to hear what I have to say, now. And then this person's also one to not like talk right away and other things. They like to like sit back and like feel people out. um like, should I even fuck with this person? They know that type of stuff before even like getting into like um they have an idea, they have like a sixth sense of like, am I like even good enough to like be around this person? Should I limit my time with this person or not? Sometimes they like cause problems for themselves by delving into things that they ain't supposed to. So they, let's say they approach somebody who's not cool, and they're, you know, just there to like, I don't know, experience some bad shit because they want to, as if they're trying to like test themselves, or like, I don't know. These people sometimes like they ain't the best thinker. They try to also, again, be a supportive role to people, and sometimes they give their time to people too much, thinking about other people too much. You know what I'm saying? And then they don't think about themselves enough. And then, but they try to then use that against people too. Oh, well, I did this for you, and da 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 da. What's, da 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 da. I put all my time and energy, and you don't understand how that makes me feel. And they use that as like a manipulation tool. And they're actually good at doing that. These people who do that shit. And it's like a bad thing, but it can also be a good thing sometimes. Um, you know, but they don't really think logically, or um, they have intentions going into things. They don't think things through too much. Oh, this person makes me feel like I'll be welcome. I think I'll be, cool with him being my friend and talking to him every once in a while, as opposed to these guys over here who are talking too much. I don't think I could even get a like word in with these fucking people. But these guys over here, or this person over here, like I can have back and forth conversation, and like he or she will understand what I'm coming from, because I'm more of an introvert, or I'm a person who needs like a person to like really fucking understand where I'm coming from. These people like seek that type of communication, and people like fuck around with and talk to and stuff like that. They don't like people who are like too like into the crowd and other things too much. Um, they typically try to stay away from that shit. Um, like fucking with those types of people. Like more pure experts and shit like that. Um, but their way of thinking is more creative and more, you know, not always, what is seen and what's actually going on. It's like you deeply hurt me because of this, or you made me feel deeply moved me when you said, this about this, and shit like that. Um, don't expect this person to be too like smarty smart about shit. You know, and even if they are somebody who's like that, like let's say they're a Gemini with displacement, um, they'll still, ramble on about. They could like find themselves rambling on about, how they feel, or how other people make them feel, at times. You know, they look for people to talk to about their like emotional baggage and shit. Like, oh, my friends hurt me because of da 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 da. Those kind of conversations with other people and shit like that. But the next person, Leo Mercury in the third house. Leo Mercury in the third house. Now, this person also ain't the smartest person, but they're confident when they speak. They are confident about what they seek to do, seek to like state about something. Oh, I'm confident that that is like that and not like that. Because when I see something, and when these people see something, they're um, either like that needs to continue, that needs to go on, and they'll cheer for that shit, or get loud and be like, let that go on, let that continue, or it'll be like, that shit needs to stop right now, and they'll get loud about it, and they'll like not like bat an eye to saying shit or anything, you know they might and this person um these people care about how they're perceived. So sometimes, and this ain't all of them, but sometimes they will have somebody else do things for them, like somebody in their circle. They'll be like, and this is like their thinking, I don't want to like hurt that person's feelings, because like they understand that, and they like to like keep people around too. Keeping people around to like talk to and like just bring their spirits up is a great thing. But not for everyone. Like there's some people, right, who don't have like that. Like let's say this person has a Virgo sun, and then Mercury and Leo. They do that with their friend group. They like to talk to their friends, talk shit and play games with their friends. Um, think about things, plan and visualize for the future. Um, and there's certain shit that they like, and then there's shit that they don't like, and like that if you're like their friend, no matter like if they're an extrovert or an introvert, you would know if they're your friend. Um, but like say like an individual that don't know them come through, they could be like all like out of sorts and be like, oh my god, this person did some shit I like didn't like. They'll either state that out loud or they'll just be like in a fucking bad way, you know, bad mood, you know, turns them, certain ways, and they'll just, go somewhere and scream, you know. They'll let their like in their circle know like that person pissed me the fuck off, they did this or that, and that's for the one who's more like introverted with displacement, but typically they ain't like that, and they'll like let people know. They'll be like, hey, I don't agree with that shit, sir, ma'am. Like, why are you doing that? That really rubbed me the wrong way. Don't ever do that shit in my presence again. And it's like, these people just do that because it's like disrespectful to them, as a person, right? And they just need to like let you fucking know to not do it again. And then you can, better operate in their presence, where they're at. Um, they think people are kind of like their subjects. Not all of them. Their people are there to serve them, you know. And also they're there to serve those people that serve them, because a king still has to do things for his people. Um, but what I'm saying here is they don't always think about um everybody else's feelings sometimes. Like they know like what excites them, right? Because like what excites this person gets them, willing to talk, get them loud and proud and confident about what they have to do, or what they see, or what they're trying to accomplish, right? Ain't always like that for the people in their friend group. So like you are always like that as a person who has Leo Mercury, because that's fixed fire. That means you have a fixed vision. You see it at all times. Other people won't always see that. Even the people in your friend group, they won't always see what you see. And then you can sometimes be like, damn, like you could be the one getting out of sorts, like and getting, all pissed off and at people, and like, why are you not seeing what we like? We always have fun like this, you know. And sometimes these people just need to get away from you and do other things, but you could get hurt by like, if you like really like rely on that person too much, you know. You could be like really pissed off about that. Like, damn, I had plans because like these people are planners. I have a friend for this. I have a friend for that. I have a friend for this. You know, these are my people, and if you fuck with them, I'll fuck you up. They like active. They're hot too, but when those people start acting differently for whatever reason it may be, yeah, this could move this person. They could get uncomfortable and be like, well, you know why are you acting like this today? You know that we do this type of thing. And then your friend might be like, well, I don't do that today because I don't want to do that. And they could, but they like being fired up. These people, they like to light a spark in other people, and they also like to talk, hear themselves talk. You know, they don't think too much. They're extroverts. They like to get their point across more, typically. Um, And if they're like introverted, they like to still get their fucking point across. and they will too. Um, Now, not everybody's gonna like might not see them as like very knowledgeable or whatever, but you will know what these people are about, what their actions are about, or what they intend to do from like what they say, that type of thing. Like because you've heard it and shit. That's what I'm saying. The next person is Virgo, Mercury in the third house. So Virgo, Mercury in the third house. This person, um, they're analytical thinkers. They are very methodical in what they do. Specifics, details matter. Small things matter. Um, these people, okay, when they talk, and like they don't always talk because guess what? Their way of thinking is like, well, I don't want to just give my information out because I like to deliver my information to people who actually want to listen. See, a Gemini won't do that. They'll just give their information out, and like for the Gemini person, they're like, I've said what I said, you either get it or you don't. And now a Virgo's like, you know, you gotta actually be worthy of this information. So like they might say, you know, one thing to somebody else, but like somebody who actually wants to listen to them, they'll tell them more and like lay it on them, like, this day, like my workout routine's like this. I specifically lift this weight on this day. These exercises, specific plates. I go to this gym at this time. I wake up. I eat this meal specifically. That never changes. And if it does change, it is this meal instead. They have it all laid out. And it's like real things that can be done. Like it's not like, and then that sometimes like pisses them off too. So like they're a practical thinker too because it's Earth, right? So when they see other people doing things half-assed or not to the best of their ability, they're like, damn, like you could be doing so much more for yourself. And this is more for like the people that they are like friends with, not just random people. Like it'll irk them, but they won't be like, worried about it because they understand, well, that's just a person that's not always in my life. You know, it'll still like eat at them a little bit, like, damn, that's a person that like really don't like hold themselves to a high standard or try to like, you know, think, about the smaller things, think about everything, not just, what you think about. Um, and, you know, a person who, has this placement, you know, can be, loud and like let you know all kind of ways. What I'm saying here is this is somebody who's like a Leo sun or a Cancer sun. They could, even make it like fun for you to like want to grow and develop in that way. Whereas somebody who might be a Virgo with this placement might come off as like too standoffish or like, overwhelming. Like, damn, that's like a lot of like things that I need to work on. Should I even like listen to you because like the way you're like saying shit, you know, if I don't do this, then I'm not going to improve, or I'm not, whatever. But, these things it comes down to like whoever the fuck they like have as their friends too. Um, Typically, these people wouldn't have foolish people around them too much, or they like, well, I only see you when I want to have fun. And I, tend to like keep these people around me more often because, they don't, fuck around as much and they won't lead me astray or they don't like foolishness too much. They like the, things a certain way still, you know. Again, like they can still have fun, these people, but they prefer to like, be the one who's like looked upon as like, wow, I need to be more like so and so, like because they're like a more perfect individual, you know. Perfection is kind of the thing that they strive for in their mindset. There's always something I can do better, you know. even when I'm like looking at all the details and other things, you know, I can, improve always. And I can always do shit to the best of my ability, and this is just a mindset they have. You know, when they talk too, they know what the fuck they're talking about. It's typically the other side that doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about. If they don't, or they're overwhelmed with all the information that this person's saying because this sign is actually really smart. Um, and they can pick up on things because they first sit back and watch things develop, and then they're like, okay, from this, I know what people can do better or what they can like, or like if a person like, because like they can like look at a situation for a while and then be like, well, this person would never, or probably would never um change their ways because whatever, and they just keep that information in their head and they're like, they then know how to approach people and other stuff. um Now, a person with Mercury, Libra in the third house, this person is very good at communication. So this person knows how to get their point across. They come across calm, cool, and collected. You know, they say things in a way that's very, like they ain't even loud. They like ain't even like too, standoffish. You know, they let you know in a kind way. You know, please don't do this. They like to use their manners when they talk. They typically don't like to use profanities. They like to be seen as a person who's like kind and calm, cool, and collected. Gracious with their words. They do consider other people before they speak. Sometimes they can, you know, they put themselves last sometimes, but like in their world it's like cool. They can actually, out of the wind signs, these people can actually hold a conversation better because they can listen and then like talk. Like I can talk to you and then I can shut my mouth and let you speak, and do that. you know Now if this person is like very, I don't know, they hold strong to like certain things because like this person is um heart chakra pull driven. um they could be like, well, this isn't a good thing for you to be doing, but they'll still be saying things in a more like calm and cool way, and they'll still be like, maybe you shouldn't do that, you should do this instead. If you want to be a better person, you'll do this. They have a way of convincing other people too. Not all of them, but like most of them do. Because you know what they're saying. They come across, they're kind people, nice, you know, and they try to convince you to like change your ways if they feel like you're going down a wrong path or whatever. Now, if this person is a manipulator type or a person who like knows they're smart and can get away with things because they talk so kindly and use these calm and gracious words, they're trying to get something out of it themselves. You know, they'll just be really smooth talkers and get what they want. And that's what they do for themselves. Some people just do that. They have that Libra Mercury, so when they talk, it's like, damn, you know, of course I'll do that for you. Whatever you like were asking for, I can make that happen for you. Because you came to me and you're always kind and listening to me, and like they sometimes use that as a manipulation tool, and they like keep coming back and using people. It's a good thing and a bad thing, but these people can talk to just about anyone, to like any like some degree, and then like some people don't like that about them. you know I don't like that you're always, because like they see it and they're like, I don't know, you're too kind and too um like calm about shit. Like I think there's something wrong with you. You know, I think you have like hidden motives and shit, and like other people would like catch on to that, or maybe see these people as like, damn, they might be playing games with me. You know, because like, and they also have a higher vocabulary and shit. You know, they typically like to like read and know things about people. You know, they could also be gossipers, gossip about people behind their back. You know, and like the way, like again, the way they like convey themselves and like say shit about other people. It's like, oh, well, I didn't know that about so and so. I thought they were, a good person, but you're saying they're not, and you're a person who is good. Oh no, or like whatever it might be. Oh well, that person, I thought they were, you know, this way or that way. But when you told me, and I know you to be this kind of person. Wow, I didn't know that. And they could like change people's, and they could like cause problems for people, just from running around and gossiping and shit too much, you know. But they also do that because they need that mental stimulation and stuff. All signs come with their, good and bad. But this is a good placement for you to have if you're a person who has this placement, because you talk to people, calm, cool, and collected manner, and you can get what you need from them because they know what you want, and you've talked to them in a way that like makes them feel like they could like even come talk to you again, you know, in the future. I feel comfortable talking to you. That's this person, you know. Now the next person is Scorpio Mercury in the third house. This person doesn't always think, they just do before they do, or do before they say. And this is an introvert sign too. Now they are moved by, or they think, you know, what am I gonna do to achieve my goal? And it's like not a thing of like thinking too much. It's like I feel like I need to do this, so I'm gonna do it right now. It's one of those type of things. I'm not gonna wait. I don't care necessarily what other people think about it, because one, this person's like actually, clever, and I don't want to say smart, but they're I'm looking for the right word to say, you know, clever, so they're more introverted mindset. So like they like to also pick up on what people are showing them, and like how, like what people show them, like people's actions and people's like how they make them feel. Can I work with you? Can I gain anything from you? They're goal mindset driven. People don't know that about these people. But they are water signs, and they do crash out sometimes. You know, and like let's say this person is Scorpio Mercury, and they have and they're like a Libra. They still have that crash out mentality. Let's say they met a person who's like it's like when it's like somebody who's like close to them lets them down because it's something they see all the time. It's like, damn, like, it's like they see what they're doing, and they know how they feel about what they're trying to do. Sometimes they don't see it from like other people's perspective, and they're like, I'm doing all this, you know, I'm hearing all your shit. I'm and what are you doing for me? And it's kind of like another way they're also manipulators like that. I do all this. You know, I stick around with you, because these people can stick it out with people. They are good at doing that. When they like somebody, or they see value in them, or whatever, they can stick it out with them. But they can also be like very like, what's up, I thought we were gonna do this or be like this. I thought you saw me. They could get upset when they're not, or they feel like they're not being um like um god damn, I know what I'm trying to say. You know, when they feel like they're not being listened to, or like things aren't being done enough for them because of what they do so much, because these people are goal driven and they will do anything to achieve their goals. You know, they don't care if they have to slap somebody or, do anything. Whatever they want to do, they're going to do it. And then, like, sometimes though, and this ain't always, because I like to bring up the gun back. Now, some of these people who have displacement aren't like that, and um now they'll still do whatever it takes to like get what they want. So like they know how to like manipulate people through like conversation. So like they understand they still have to talk. So they're like, okay, well, I, they have a way of like making people feel the way they want them to feel, or god damn it, that came out wrong. They can like make you feel what they're feeling, and then like it's like their strong desires are like stated. So like in the way they state them, you're like, damn, this person's actually like that. I want to like make that shit happen for you. I want to like see that through. And like they might bring up like their past and shit, and like all the like steps it took to get there, and it wasn't easy and shit. And like when these people say shit like that, it's like, damn, it hits differently. For like sometimes, and then you're like, damn, you know I think I can do something for you. I think I have what you might need, and they have a way of like persuasive talking. And it's like the way they speak though. It's more that than anything else. Not like what they're saying even. They know how to do shit like that the best. Um and yeah, they like they already in there like a water sign too, so they're like intuitive and shit too, right? So they know, or like in their Mercury sign, their mindset is like that of like emotional thinking. So like they'll be like, I don't think I can even fuck with this person because the way they make me feel, it's not gonna work. So I won't even approach them. I won't even say a fucking word to them. They don't even like, it's whatever, you know. But that person over there who's kind of also reserved like me, I think I can like work with that person because I know that he or she can like not talk so much to other people, and they can, and they're kind of strategic in their own way too. But that's that person. But they don't always like think things through. It's like an emotionally driven mindset. Um, and so like they might even bring up the past a lot and shit, and that like works against like thinking. Sometimes, if you're like not like into like teaching about history and shit, and you're just bringing up the past to like fuck with people, this person might do shit like that. But the next person is Sagittarius Mercury. Now this person, they can move on quickly from like any type of shit that like doesn't entertain their mind, um, or what they're whatever they're seeking. They don't really think too much. They see what they want to do and they do it. Like again, seizing the opportunity, everything, because that's what Sagittarius do. And they'll say whatever the fuck they're thinking right away, even if it hurts your feelings or whatever, because they have to say it, because like holding on is like, to them, it's like, what? Holding anything in is like not gonna like, it's like you're hiding shit, and they don't want to hide shit. And even if they are hiding shit, because they know that because like these are a fire, like they're more confident mindset, right? So they don't want to come off as like what they're not trying to, because like they still lie and shit, some of these people. um so what they'll do is they'll you know say shit that is what happened, but they'll like change your like perception of it or try to change your perception of it. And they typically do because they're like loud and like they tripped because they were acting stupid or I don't want to use that as an example. It's like other things, you know. You shouldn't have ran your mouth to that person because now they can get us in trouble with this or that. But then they'll be like, well, I had to say something or something to that effect. I couldn't just like sit there and just not say anything back. You know, you didn't have to slap that guy because of da 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 da. Da. Well, if I didn't slap him, he would. And like they have a way of like getting their point across and like making their point more important than other people, or telling like half truths and lies and shit. But they still are more like honest than other people. Because of that like unfilteredness. Whereas somebody will be like, "Oh, well, you still look good today." They'll be like, "Nah, you kind of look ugly," you know and they may even suggest something if they have time, if they care about you. But if they don't, they'll just be like, "You're ugly," and they'll move on. Or you don't talk that like you're smart, you sound like you're dumb. And they'll move on and find what they need to do. um and they like move like that. They move like lightning in their mind, and they're quick in thinking too, quick thinking, not slow thinking. you know and whatever they think, they act upon immediately. And that's typically for all fire signs, especially for this one though. And like they see like indecisiveness or like slower shit, they just can't deal with it. And like it's fine or whatever if they like see it and they're like just walking by and shit. But if like you're their friend, they could like really get in your ass and be like, "Man, I thought you were gonna do this," or "I thought you weren't like that." They don't like lackadaisicalness. They like to be entertained. They like to be the ones to entertain people, like with like conversation specifically. you know they'll talk shit about other people, talk shit, or like just be like fun and funny about people, make jokes at other people's expense and other shit. And like in their mind, they're just like, "I'm just a guy who's like, I'll say anything that comes in my mind. You know, like I won't even think about, repercussions or anything," and they won't, you know. And maybe they like are old enough to know, and they still do it anyways because they like they're confident. They just have a strong confidence, and they're like, "I'll live to see through this, whatever happens, good or bad." And they like to have a positive mindset. Let's say this person ain't though a Sagittarius with the Sagittarius Mercury. Let's say they are Capricorn with it. They'll tell you what it is. Do what they do. And they'll get loud when they have to fucking get loud. You might not like it. They'll be extra asshole if that's the case. Um, if they are, somebody with Sagittarius, Mercury, and their uh, what Scorpio, you know, they could be very like more aggressive, loud, louder than like another Scorpio, just to like get their points, just when they're trying to get their points across. And also like when they like do something, they're like gonna like just do it right away, not think too much. you know I want to do this, so they're gonna do it right then and there. They're gonna like walk to it, get to it. I don't give a fuck what you think type of mindset. I want to experience what I'm trying to experience, in that moment or in that situation, making it happen now. you know and they like know where they want to go after that. Now that I've done this, I have to do something else. And then they keep doing that. And then they like to have, you know, people around. Sometimes they don't. Again, if they're like more of an introvert, they can like deal with like less shit. But like when they do get around people, they let them know what the fuck they're about, and they don't hold back on that. So now we got Mercury, um, Capricorn in the third house. This person thinks before they say what they need to say. and what it is they make sure that they have their shit together before they like say shit too. So what I'm saying here is like they'll give you or tell you some things like that can help you out, you know, or like what they intend to do, and then they like do it right, but they don't want to be that asshole that's like you know trying to like dig in somebody's ass about something, and like sometimes they still do that, and they like really are just an asshole, right? Like, oh well, you shouldn't be fucking around like that. You need to like go to work, and you need to, have your bills paid. You have to have this much money in your bank account before you do shit like this and that. You know, you need to stick to your goals and not like fuck with other people so much because they come from an introverted mindset. It's all turned in on them. But the people who are like more positive and shit and can catch themselves be like, oh well, fuck, I shouldn't have like said that shit. I don't even have my own shit together. You know, I'm the bad guy now. I have to like do better myself. They will like make sure when they say something, they have their shit together. I'll say that about these people. They don't want to be the ones to like, cause like they like to be seen as, or like they want you to like rely on them for things, because they're guys, they're females who, you know, don't mind doing shit for other people. You know, sometimes, once they have their shit together again, they're goal driven people, ambitious mindset. If they have to cut people off and shit, they don't mind doing shit like that. You know, I don't need to be around these type of people who will like make me lazy, like constantly like put me like in a way that like I'm not achieving my goals. You know, I'll make sure I'm around people who want to listen to what actions I have to take and will listen to like the advice I'm trying to give them. These people know how to manage people. They have a voice of authority in a way too, but it's like they can be loud and stern when they need to be, and also listen to the people that are like beneath them or not beneath them, but like the people they're working with, because that's what they like to do. You know, listen to the people that they're working with so that everything works smoothly, and then they can build whatever they're trying to build. Career in this, maybe they're just trying to like actually build something real quick, and they know how to like get started right away. They know what measures need to be taken first and other stuff. They know um who's good at doing this type of thing and who's not good at doing this type of thing, and they know how to organize things. They're good at organizing shit in their mind, you know putting things together for themselves and then for other people if they have to, you know because this is cardinal earth. This is somebody who initiates action in other people and in themselves first. First they do it for themselves because they're introverted. Now sometimes they don't. Sometimes this is a fire sign who like digs in people that you are the person who does this in our friend group. You don't do what another person does, and they'll get loud and tell them, hey, because they're that Sagittarius, but they have the mindset of Capricorn, so they're like, you're the one who does this kind of thing, not the one who does that. You know, you keep doing what you're doing. Don't listen to him. You know, we're trying to, build this here. You know, this person, comes across like that, and people, like it. You know, um, you know, if they're like an extrovert or like have an extroverted sign and they have this Mercury placement, they think before they do, um, but also um, they might not be seen as an introvert, but they do think more than the other like people um, before they do things or execute a plan, and they actually like plan things out, in a real way. Like, they ain't gonna let their like extra shit like I want to have fun as I'm doing this. They understand that it takes sacrifice, and things ain't always gonna be fun, and like those people who are like Sagittarius like that or have the Capricorn mindset and Sagittarius where they're, even Aquarius, they'll be like, yeah, these actions need to be taken before I can, talk to these people or do this with these people. It might suck, but I understand I can do that. I have that, mental fortitude about me. Um, Now the next person is um, Mercury Aquarius in the third house. Now this person likes to talk to people. They like to, you know, do things for people, get information for people that they think is interesting. They need to know. They like to, not that, and I never said that. They like to, present things and, ideas that other people might not have, or ideas that they fixate on a lot. And like the way they fixate on these, ideas or problems that they want to solve, for other people is different. It's not the way another person would think. And they seek those type of conversations too, where they can get their ideas manifested into like, things that other people accept, or a business that they're trying to build, but they're trying to do it a specific way, and they understand that they need people who can get behind that idea that they have, and they know how to like talk to people and get their points across. Sometimes they like spend too much time talking and not executing the plan. But not always. You know they make sure they get a nice friend group. You know they know how to like stay away from the dumbasses, and they understand that some people ain't worth talking to. They just won't see things the right way, or get it, whatever. Um, these people, they talk to people, and they know how to talk to people. You know, they'll let them know, where they stand, or what kind of relationship they have. Typically, sometimes they don't. If they want to like play mind games with people, yeah, they're like friendly types. You know, I like you. I want to talk to you again. You know, um, but they know who their friends are, and if you're a person who knows a person who's a Mercury Aquarius in the third house, you basically know if you're friends with them or not too, because they will probably be talking to you more if you're their friend, like more of a friend to them or whatever. Um, this person, right? Also, if it's like a Capricorn who has this placement, or Pisces has this placement, is still like trying to think outside the box. They ain't always, um, not thinking about something. If they're probably thinking about something and planning something out in their head. I know people have this placement who are, not of like Aquarius, like Aquarius sun sign, and they also have they, planning something out in their mind. They do it in a fun and creative way. They know how to like, fuck with people's heads a little bit. You know, um, clever way of like, tricking people sometimes, but they don't like to trick people. They like to actually fucking help people out. They like to give like real information to people. Information that's like, if they know of like false information that's being given, they'll be like, hey, do you know that that person's actually lying to you and it's actually like this? But at the same time, this person could also be the person who's giving false information. So you have to be, weary of these people. But the way they come across and shit, they are well read, and like they have also a high vocabulary typically, because they know how to read books, you know, and they, don't like to, come across too confident, but still, they know what they fucking talking about. And that you can come to them about things, and to talk about other people, to talk about ideas. You can come to this person about that. Now, the last person is somebody with the Pisces mindset. Pisces, Mercury in the third house. This person is also mentally, emotionally driven, so they pick up on things from other people. Basically, how a person makes them feel, uh, um, how another person's energy makes them feel, how their energy makes another person feel, and they play games to that. So what I mean there, they creatively, go about their business and convince people. And they try to cleverly, smartly, come across smart. Like they know how to come across as a smart person and not even be a smart person. Like they might not even use big words, but the way they make you feel, like I feel like you could give a class on something. I bet you could be a professor one day if you wanted to, and like they make other people say that. Like somebody like me, I could be the one saying that to somebody who has this mindset, and they're like very good at like flirting or like, you know, getting people to open up, getting people to, because they like to seize opportunities too. You know, this person likes to create them from nothing, you know, whereas other people see this person as this. If I come across to this person as a person who's interested in them, then they will, you know, give to me, they'll be, I'll be their friend or I'll actually be their friend, because this person's a manipulator. That's why I said that. Um, Sometimes, and they just like to come in as a savior and do their thing and and keep people on a leash too and be like, you remember what I did for you, right? You wouldn't leave me, right? Because of what I did for you. Nobody else did that, but I did. And then the way they say it, they really get their point across. And it's like with this person again, because water, it's like the way they say things. Always with these water and fire signage, if it's a fire water signage, especially if it's water signage, they know how to make you feel some type of way about what they're saying. Now people who listen for actual words and real actions that can be taken, will not be so, swayed by that all the time. You know, Swayed by the way they're trying to make you, hook you in. But this person's good at hooking people in. That's what I'm saying. When they do speak, because they know how people move and shit, or how people make them feel, and if they even want to fuck with you beforehand. Um, they know that if they fuck around with this person for too long, then yes, it's good right now, but later down the line, it might not be. So I can be friends with this person for a little bit, but then I have to find somebody else. This person, on the other hand, I can be friends with for a long time. And it's like, that's an acquaintance and this is a friend. Um, I want to change their mood, because this is a person who, you know, likes to do that. And this person really will do that shit, better than the other two water signs. You know, I'm feeling like this. I want somebody else to feel that emotion from me. If they're in a negative state, they're gonna make that person feel in a negative state. If they're in a positive state, they're gonna make somebody else feel in a positive state. And they're gonna, do the best they can to do either the two. And before you know it, if you get hooked into a conversation with this person, um, you'll then be, kind of punny in their hands. You just, been bamboozled by them, or if it ain't that, you might, change in a way that, you might not have seen for yourself. They can enlighten you to, a new way of, um, feeling about life and feeling about doing what you're doing. So you're doing stuff, right? And you're just doing it and doing it. And you're like, why am I even doing this? And then they come around and they're like, I like what you're doing. Like, keep doing it. And like, they're kind of like a reminder of like, damn, I actually do impact people and I do, you know, positively, you know, I have a positive impact on people and shit. So now I want to keep doing what I'm doing, because I have deeply moved that person over this, and I want to keep doing what I'm doing. Who has displacement and has said such things. Um, but this is that video, the Mercury in the third house video. Um, be cool call in the corner, and Mercury, or not Mercury, Venus in the third house next week. Um, but be cool call in the corner, and I got other videos coming out today too.